Hey guys, today is project day. I bought a new house in October and I don't have a great place to shoot my bow because my shooting lane points towards my neighbor's house. So today I'm going to be building an archery backstop. I'm going to record that, show some of the tools, the materials, and the final product. Here's a brief overview of my materials list. The only thing that kind of stands out is the horse stall mats. Had to pick those up at my local farm supply place. And then also picked up some copper green preservative and some Olympic water guard to treat my post so they would hold up in the weather. So the first thing I did to start this project was measure the horse mats. Those were not exactly square. Then I laid out my frame dimensions. Had to cut 7 inches off the bottom cross member. And then once I had my blueprint, I was ready to begin construction. All right, here I marked the line around my post and I'm gonna cover that with painter's tape. Everything below the painter's tape will get the copper green wood preservative. That'll be the portion of the post that's in the ground. So here I've got my painter's tape applied. This is the copper wood preservative that I'm gonna apply. According to the directions on this stuff, you're actually supposed to soak the entire post in a bucket, but I didn't have a bucket and I wasn't that worried about it since this is just an archery target. If you don't have a bucket, the directions say to apply in flowing coats, multiple coats. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to apply 2 or 3 heavy coats and that should be sufficient. Well, I was working by myself, so I decided to get a good square start. I would take my speed square, clamp that in the corner with 2 wood clamps, and that would help me make sure that my frame was square to begin with. Well, my drill bit was quite a bit longer than my lag bolt, so to ensure I didn't drill too deep into my post, I took some painter's tape and put a mark on my drill bit for the depth that I wanted to drill to. The next step was to go ahead and pre-drill 3 holes for my lag bolts. Each corner has 3 of those 6-inch lag bolts in it. Once I got the top cross member all screwed on, I went ahead and double checked my measurements. My mats were 72 and a 1/16 inch, so I measured from the top of the frame down to the bottom of the lower cross member to make sure that was 72 and a 1/16. Clamped that in place, and then I just needed to go ahead and pre-drill those holes. Here I have the whole frame screwed together. I realized there will be a vertical seam where my horse mats meet that I could potentially shoot an arrow through. I purchased a 2x6 to place on the back side of the frame for that exact scenario. So here I'm attaching the 2x6 that I cut from the seam board to make sure I didn't shoot an arrow through those 2 mats. I got a lot of wind in my area, so one of the last things I wanted to do was cut some corner braces to secure the frame, make sure it was a little more stable. Frame's coming along nicely here. I've got all the corner braces cut, stained, and secured. Not long after I cut and put those corner braces on, I realized I wasn't going to have anything to secure the mats to down the center seam. Bit of an oversight there. So I bought another 4x4 post, cut that down to size, and placed that in the center. That's the unstained post you can see here. And then I'd have a solid anchor for my horse mats. So here I've got my first mat laid on the frame, fits flush around the perimeter, and then the 4x4 in the middle, the mat half overlaps that 4x4. Here I'm pre-drilling a hole for my deck screw. Gonna go ahead and add those galvanized washer to the head of the deck screw to make sure I've got more surface area so those screws don't pull out of the mat, and then go ahead and get that secured. The next thing I did was laid out roughly how many screws I wanted to use to secure the mat to the frame. I ended up adding 7 additional screws plus the 2 on the end, so that's 9 total. That gave me 8 equal gaps. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I measured the distance between the 2 screws I already had secured. That was 44.5 inches. So I divided 44.5 by 8 equal gaps. That gave me 5 and 9/16 inches. So here I went ahead and laid out those extra screws every 5 and 9/16 inches. I'd rather measure twice and drill once, and it looks like that's going to work. I secured the top and bottom rows of screws using the procedure I just described. Then for the sides, I basically did the same thing. Measured from corner to corner, laid out my screws, divided by how many equal gaps I needed, and then I secured those as well. And here's the final product. If you guys enjoyed this project or you want to see more outdoor related content, please like and subscribe. If you got a backstop of your own, leave me a comment on how you built yours. Thanks.